Hello and welcome to my channel, and thank you for making the effort and finding the time to tune into me. Thank you to everyone who has been reaching out to me for spiritual counseling, astrological chart reports, very deep dives. Please be aware that there are a massive amount of readings that have been coming in from all over the world, and that it does take me a long time to get to each and every single person and really consult and look at their questions and their chart on the level that I go to. So it isn't a factory, it is just one man that has a mind and has this level of ability. It's just something that I was born with, and people are recognizing this out in the world, and it is very humbling. But please know that when you make a booking with me, it can be now up to 20 days before I can get back to you. I do try and get back to everyone within 10 days from the time that you place the reading. But at the volume and the level of integrity that I try to uphold with my readings and my spiritual counseling sessions it's not something that you just go buy in a shop. Okay, it's not Amazon. So thank you to everyone. Please make sure that when you contact me that all of your details are in that first email. If I get an email and there's missing dates, missing times, missing questions, missing photos, I have to just put your reading to the back of the line. Okay, so I do trust that there is a level of ownership, where if you're reaching out for an astrological reading, that you are able, you're an adult. I don't know, I don't know how to word this to anyone, but it's like you're coming to me for an astrological chart reading, and you're not giving me your date of birth and details. So I don't know how anyone would expect one to conduct that. So just please, before you contact me, make sure that the email is tight. I do enjoy a good backstory. I love as much context as you bring to me. It's really important, so that I can really assess your situation. So when I say spiritual counseling, what I am offering here is a one-on-one phone conversation with me that will go on for, usually we go over time because I just do, and I'm very generous with my time. But it's a 45-minute phone consultation. So if you book me for that option and you choose option 2, just make sure that you have all of the questions ready for me so we can jump straight into it rather than starting off slowly, because I really want to maximize my time with you to give you the best reading that I can. So I need you to know what you want. Okay, so I hope that made sense. So I'm not going to dwell on that too much. My channel is here. My website is linked to here. If you would like to DM me, you are absolutely welcome to. If you'd like to send an email in with questions about me or my story or what I do, I hide nothing. I hide absolutely nothing, okay? So come to me and, bring your emails. I'm all for it, okay? So that being said, if you've seen the topic of today's chat, this is going to be a very heavy duty one for some of you. This podcast is very much tailored for gay men. It's not tailored for queer people. It's not tailored for some made up word or some fucking bullshit. It is for men that are homosexuals, that are gay, that are in this world. And this is a podcast from my heart to yours. So at the moment, given some of the videos that I've done on gay culture, the gay scene, gay men, gay relationships, I have a first-hand experience with all of this stuff on a very, very, very deep level, on levels that I can't share here in this chat because it would freak people out. But when I say, please listen to me, and if you're listening to this now, don't click away. Don't choose another channel to go to. Yes, this will be heavy, but it's also really, really important that we face this, that we look at this. So I've decided today, rather than just do another video on the planetary correlations and talk about the moon sign, which I was going to, or the moon and its influences in the Earth's blah, 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 the rotation, etc., astrological chat, I've decided I'd rather just do this instead. All right, so if you're new and you don't know anything about gay culture, this could be quite enlightening and quite disturbing to you. All right, so I think what I might do is make this maybe a part one, and then I will, gather my thoughts. I do a lot of journaling, a lot of meditation. I need a lot of alone time. One of the things that I've learned in my life, which can be quite disturbing to therapists or people in the astrological field, people in the spiritual field, people maybe not so much spiritual field, but people that are in like the psychological field, is that I need a lot of alone time. I just do. I need a lot of time to think, a lot of silence and deep contemplation. Going to the beach and sitting there for hours just staring at the waves, thinking. This is where my power lies. As I've come to grow into this life, and I'm turning 40 this year, many lives have come before me. And it's like I was born quite tired. In a lot of ways, I was born quite tired. I just came in like this, all right? So solitude is how I got to this. And as I've begun to, I would say, kind of disassociate from a dysfunctional world, and I think a lot of you are now, whether you're gay or straight, you're starting to realize that something is really fishy here and something is really starting to break down. And so that's in the structure of society, it's within governments, it's within people being confused about who they are. We've got a lot of what we call inversion happening now. And wherever there is inversion, there is perversion. Okay, so I hope this is starting to make some sense to you. So for me, doing a podcast like this would be considered absolute suicide. Talking about this type of stuff would be considered just like scary, because what will happen is people will try and come for me, they'll try and cancel me, they'll say that I hate gays or I hate myself, but I don't. I am on the inside, and I've been on the inside of a very, very dark and dysfunctional underground world that I've been privy to. Okay, so this isn't something that I read in a book. It's not something that I heard on some channel. It's me sharing my journey and my life experience with this. Okay, so the statement that I'm going to make here is probably going to make people freak out. Some of you I've already figured this out because you already know. But the gay world, or being gay, eventually destroys you. It is a degeneration of sorts. And this is something that I struggle with on a daily basis. And when I get to the spiritual world, it is the only thing that really concerns me, that I really want to understand. I already understand human nature. It is within human nature to destroy ourselves. It's just something that we do on a loop. But being born a genetic dead end and having a brain is something that I find to be life's ultimate cruelty. And perhaps it was that I was to be punished in this life by being this way, by being born this way, and being able to see the dysfunction and call it out logically, which is what I'm going to do in this chat. So I'm open to other people's interpretations. I'm open to any point of view that someone wants to present to me, whether here on YouTube, I read the comments, so feel free. I don't hide anything. There's no pretending. You can say whatever you want to say. Just make sure that whatever it is that you're saying, you're able to intellectually, logically, and rationally explain. That's where I will be looking for credibility. When it comes to people just putting out blanket statements and using like defamatory words, this is, it's like, it's just super boring to me, all right? So name calling won't work on me. I have no skin in a lot of this, especially even when I have a lot of women that come to me for spiritual counseling, going through divorces and very complicated, messy breakups. And the reason I'm very good with spiritual counseling is because I have no skin in the game on either side. There is nothing you can take from me. There is nothing you can do to hurt me. There is nothing there's no fear here. So I'm very courageous in what I do, and I'm very courageous in talking like this. So when women come, I'm not trying to crack onto you. I'm just assessing the scenario. All right. Same thing with a lot of gay men are now finding my videos here on YouTube, and they have, whether it's through a couple of videos I did a few years ago talking about being, gay culture, the one-way ticket to nowhere, or whether it was, daddy culture, that type of thing. So what's happening is people out there, some, very, very few of you, are starting to wake up. You're waking up out of the lies that you've been fed and the brainwashing that you have been indoctrinated into. And you're starting to notice a lot of infractions and things that just don't feel right, particularly in the gay world. Okay. And so if you're here and you're listening to this, you have safety here with me. It's okay. You can reach out to me. I know what you're going through. I know what you're feeling. So please know that you're not alone when you're involved in the gay scene, or you're, as you would be, you're single. Most gay, pretty much 99.9% of gay men are all single. They all grow old and they all die alone. This isn't a joke, by the way. That's not an exaggerated statement. That is absolutely what is going on here. All right. And I'm going to explain all of this. So please just relax and just chill, because I will be getting to all of the explanations as to why and how it got this way. I've also tried over the last couple of years courageously to try and create a group or a space where gay men can come together and meet one-on-one in a group, where we can try and build real friendships and connections, where we have support systems, where we can kind of help each other, hold space for each other, listen to each other, and be able to try and build real, deep connections. And I did try that back in 2022. I began to embark on a journey where I thought it was time for me to basically rise up and be like, all right, we can see this is all dysfunctional. We can see how dangerous it is to our psychological health and our body as well. So why not set up a group? And I tried to do that, only to be met with something that I ultimately deep down knew was going to kind of happen, and then it happened, which is gay men have such low levels of connectivity that anything beyond just like fucking or the physicality, they can't sustain friendships, and they can't relate to each other more than the brainwashing that they've been indoctrinated into, which is just reducing each other to a sex puppet that they fuck and they abandon, and then they go on to the next thing, and then they discover the next person. And their whole life, really, for most gay men, is just a series of sex acts. That's their whole life. They don't amount to anything. They don't achieve anything. They don't grow spiritually. A lot of gay men, most of them stay in a very, very low level of consciousness. They don't evolve on any level at all. In fact, they actually regress backwards. And I'm going to share some examples of this as well to help you guys understand like the level of how serious this is. Because when you start to get older and you get past your 30s, this is no joke. This is very, very serious stuff. Okay, it's all fun and games in your 20s and 30s. And then you start to come out of that and you go, oh my God, why? Why is it so difficult to find a friend as a gay man? Why is it so fucking hard to just have someone that just wants to know you, that wants to get to see you and can hold space for you? And that's the thing that I discovered, which I knew in my heart, but I had to give it a shot, is arranging a space on a basketball court with a group of men where we have chairs and we all sit together and everyone has a chance to talk. Everyone has a chance to share their story, to be heard, to not be judged. And so we can try and create a space where we look at each other as a full human being with a mind and with a heart and with a soul and all of the gifts that we have. But of course, it just became another hookup thing where people just got their phones out and started looking on Grindr. Very, very short attention spans. They didn't really have the interpersonal kind of skill sets to be able to even hold conversations now. And I would say Grindr and hookup culture and all of these hookup apps are absolutely to partly blame with how quickly the degeneracy is spreading and how quickly this kind of way of existing where men just can only relate to each other on a genitalia level. And so that's all it is. And so the issue is, like, I've been around a long time. I've had, like, I'm not going to lie to you, I've had a lot of great times. I've had a lot of very intimate times. I've had a lot of sex. I've been around. I know how all of this plays out. So this is coming from an elder, and I guess you could say an elder gay, a person that has been groomed, a person that has been raped, a person that has gone through all of the rigmarole of all of this. So if you're younger and you're listening to this, thank you. But please heed a lot of what I'm saying here and what I'm trying to condense and summarize into a chat that's digestible for these types of level of depths. Heed it as a warning. All right. So please listen to me. All right. So this is just me sharing some of my knowledge about this. Okay. And I'm doing it in a very authentic way. And I'm doing it because I'm not scared of being cancelled. And I'm not homophobic. I'm just able to shine a light on the dysfunction of being gay and the dysfunction of a scene that really is I would say is full of the most perverted, narcissistic, Machiavellian scale people, men that you'll ever meet in your life. Okay, so for a lot of you, this is not a nuanced thing. This is obvious as hell, and you're probably alone, you're tired, you're frustrated. A lot of you guys, if you're listening, you probably have basically a level of PTSD at this point, where you've tried to build a connection with someone, you've had a conversation with someone, you've tried to pursue some level of in-depth connection, and of course you're met with being ghosted, being trivialized, just someone leaving the feedback loop open, and just kind of on a loop where you meet someone, you talk to them, they talk to you, and then both of you kind of ghost each other, or get ghosted. By the way, ghosting is when someone connects with you and then just leaves you on red. There's no explanation, you don't know what you've done. And so what happens is when you live in a dysfunctional culture that is operating on this level, what begins to happen is it really starts to poison you. So the gay scene in itself is poisonous. And when I was young, I came out to the gay world from a country town, and I very specifically remember being spiritually inclined at that age. I knew that it was poison. It was like dipping my toe into poison. I knew something was very, very wrong with a lot of these men. I knew that they were very, very damaged. A lot of them are very mentally ill. There's a lot of pedophiles and grooming and predatory behavior which goes on within the scene. It's all drug culture, it's rape culture. And for the most part, it wasn't until I came to the occult and began to understand that a lot of these behavioral patterns are actually all Luciferic in nature. So I will be explaining that, and I have talked about this before. If you look at the thumbnail that I've created for this podcast, you will see in the background the sigil of Lucifer. So if you know anything about that, then you'll know Lucifer was about freedom, he was about beauty, he was about perfection, and he was about inversion. Okay, so inversion is when we take something that's wholesome and true and we invert it. We flip it upside down. We destroy it. we change something from one state to its opposite state. So you will see this a lot in modern culture. It's definitely on the rise. And I see demons in people. Okay, I see demons in people. When I go down the street, when I go out, when I connect with people in readings, I see demonic attachments on people everywhere. What is happening now in a modern world is that the frequency of humans is getting so low and degenerate that basically hell is coming here. The lower astral is starting to open up on levels that have never been before on this planet. We are heading into a very dystopian time, all right? And a lot of the jobs that you have or the safety that you think you have, you don't. In the next 7 years, 6 to 7 years, most of the jobs in the workforce, if they're not based in levels of agriculture or having to be on one-on-one people dealings, will all be replaced by AI. So that's another video for another time. And I have mentioned the age of Aquarius, the prophecy of when the water bearer comes, do not follow him into his house. This was mentioned. And AI is the Antichrist. It is humans creating a version of themselves in their own perfection. And how do you think that's going to go for us? All right, but that's another topic for another time. I don't want to bore you with AI chat. I can talk about that at another time at more depth. So moving on for the nuances of this chat, I just want to say that if you are gay, I just want to hug you. I want you to know that you are not alone, and this isn't scolding you, it's warning you. All right. When people would even listen to this podcast and clutch their pearls and go, how dare he talk about this in this way? Yes, I fucking dare too. Yes, I dare. And I'm doing it right now, so shut up and listen, because you should be thanking me for doing this, because no one else has the guts to do this. Okay? No one does. And it's no joke when you get up to your 60s and you're single and you're logged in on Scruff looking for a fuck, and your whole life has just been meaningless sex acts. That's when it really starts to hit. And for me to go up to a lot of these older gays, if they're still alive, if they didn't die from HIV, and actually explain to them this type of chat, a lot of them would absolutely freak out. Freak out. Also, one of the things that I've noticed with being in the occult and spirituality is that being gay is nature's genetic dead end. All right, think about it. If being gay was natural, you wouldn't be here. Did anyone ever actually think about that? Of course not. And the truth of it is, no one actually really gives a fuck about what you like to do in the bedroom, because that's one small aspect of you. No one cares, and you don't need to parade that in people's faces and flaunt it. That's just overcompensation for lack. And that's what gays do. It's all overcompensation. This was actually written about and diarized and documented in quite a few books, one of them being called The Velvet Rage. Okay, so all things in the human world are an act of a call of love or a call to be loved or compensation for lack of it. It's one or the other. All right, so one of the things that I've noticed when I get up close to a lot of these gay men, there is something that seems to just be missing. I know you know what I'm talking about. When you get up cheek to cheek, right up close, skin to skin, and look deeply into their eyes, you will often find that there's just something that just simply isn't there. And this is something it has fascinated me for so long. It has interested me, and it's led me to this video. It's led me to a very dark and powerful place, which is me understanding that perhaps a lot of problems that I have had in my life dealing with gay men wasn't really necessarily about them not being able to hear me. It was more about them not being able to comprehend me. All right, so I know that I hope that made sense. It's comprehension that I struggle with these people. Okay, because the thing is, it's very obvious. It's so fucking obvious. Say, for example, my favorite color is blue. Okay, so what? Your favorite color is blue. But what if I was to build a life around the color blue? And then everything has to be about being blue. Everything I talk to, everything I connect to has to be blue. Can you see how limiting that would be and how crazy that would be? It's like the whole size of the universe being condensed into a needle pin hole. Can you see how crazy that would be? That's ultimately what has happened. Now, the gay scene was always dysfunctional and it was always underground. Of course, when I meet gays for spiritual consultations, the ones that dare to go here with me, is that a lot of them, I want to hug them because they're very, very damaged. A lot of gay men are very, very damaged from being gay, from being different, from knowing innately that they're different. Their parents didn't know what to do with them. And how would their parents know what to do or relate to a gay kid? They'd have no idea. They've had to kind of get by on underground ways, all right? And kind of living off scraps, which is what I've done as well. I call it living off scraps. Because when you're dealing with a minority and you start to unpack that minority, you take out, say for example, you're a single gay man, which you will be if you're listening to this. I 100,000% would say. And then what will happen is, say you're looking for love or you're ready to date someone. You're only fishing in a very, very limited little pond. By the time you take out too old, too young, mentally really, really too damaged, a lot of them are, God bless, a lot of them are. Most of them are narcissists. So most of them are absolutely on the psychopathic scale of psychopathy. Absolutely. That's a prerequisite, which I've discovered as well, which is also tying into Luciferic consciousness. So you take that out, then you take out all the drugs and you take out everything else. You've got to consider, do they have the mental bandwidth to hold a real relationship with you? But what I'm saying is, by the time you take every single thing out of that equation, geographic positioning, etc., you are going to be left with a handful of options that are probably going to be completely unworkable. Okay, and that's only if you have like a high level of integrity and a high level of self-love. Because one of the things you'll understand, which I've come to understand, is a lot of gay culture, the reason nothing in it works is because it isn't real. A lot of gay culture is pop culture. It's references to film and TV and playing characters. It doesn't really have like a consensus on a level of something I would call virtue. And masculinity in the spiritual world is actually virtue. So what you'll have is someone who likes to project virtue through dressing up in characters of virtue. So you'll see like gays wearing leather or gays on bikes or things that emulate like wearing a costume of what virtue appears to be, but it isn't in the heart, because masculinity in itself is not something that you can kind of dress up in. So virtue is something that you have to have in order to have real love. You have to have virtue. So if you don't have virtue, you can't have real love. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So dressing up in a costume and like an imitation of wearing the archetype of virtue, going to the gym and lifting weights and pumping yourself up and taking photos, it looks aesthetically virtue-based, but it's not. So you will see a lot of illusions and delusions around projection, okay? Because virtue is not fulfilling. It's through virtue in itself is about putting others first. It's about treating people with respect. It's about treating people with dignity. When we look at the gay world, you'll see that it's all about devaluation. It's all about using people as like a sex toy, a doll, or a sex puppet. And because a lot of the Luciferic and demonic consciousness has crept into the psyche of a lot of gay men, the more perverted and deranged and degrading and degenerate the sex acts are, the more that it kind of turns them on, I've noticed. Okay? So yeah, if you're out there now, I'm just sharing this with you. I hope it isn't freaking you out. Please just hear me out. So one of the things I have also noticed is the gay ratios that I'm seeing is generally like 1,000 bottoms to like one top. So you'll notice that there's very few tops out there. It's all bottoms. It's all trauma bonding. I will get onto that later, so please just hear me out, all right? So if you think that you're going to build a relationship with someone that's just based on a sexual identity of like a very, very narrow view of reducing someone to, I'm a top, you're a bottom, let's get in a relationship, the relationship will never last, okay? It just won't, all right? So a lot of, and the thing is, it's really complex, which I could go on and on and on about, is that gay culture was already dysfunctional long before it was hijacked by a trans ideology and weaponized. Okay, so gay culture was already fucked long before it was hijacked by a transgender agenda. Okay, so the concept of a gay man is about acceptance of self and owning your truth, that you're a man that is attracted to other men. And that is something that is obvious as hell. It's there, it's always going to be there. And then you come out and you own your truth because that's who you are. And the moment that you do, as soon as you own your truth, now you're able to build authentic relationships with people because you're showing them who you really are. All right, so that was the thing that was hardest to do. It was always sex-based because that's the thing that we all kind of have in common. That's like, I'm gay, you're gay, 101. Obviously, it's a sexual orientation, okay? And it always will be that way. And also the hardwiring of men is that men are very predatory by nature, with gay or straight. It's just in males, the male alchemical structure of who we are as men, okay? But what's happened is that got taken over by something that really is LGBTQ plus blah, 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 took that over and then distorted it and inverted that even more. So with being trans, that's not about acceptance. That's about changing who you are and changing your gender. That is an absolute polar opposite to what being gay is. And so what happened was we now saw a lot of attack on words, which started to distort and confuse people, also Luciferic consciousness, to make them weak, to invert them, where we could have a concept where a man could now be a woman and then take up a woman's space, as if a woman's like existence could be like a cosplay, okay? And so what happened was these two things got mushed together and merged together. Whether anyone liked it or not, that's how it went. So you had a very small movement that hijacked a giant movement that started out in equality, which I'm all for, which was gay marriage, which I'm all for, but it has gone way, way, way too fucking far. And now everything is so crazy and inverted. We've got women saying they're gay men logged in on gay men's apps. So gay spaces were inverted. Everything was flipped upside down. And of course, they came for the children. So I could go on about that and on, but that's not the point of today's video for this part one. The point of this is me getting you into the mindset of understanding that living in the gay world really destroys you, okay? There's no pursuit of excellence. There's no spiritual development. There's no self-regulation. And that's why most of you are very damaged. It's why most of you are very confused and lost and alone and scared and struggle to find groups of other people that you can just connect with where the theme or the agenda isn't for them to fuck you. And it's really, really fucking hard on any psychological level. A lot of, unfortunately, I was going to go back this year and complete my counselling bachelor at Curtin University here in Perth. And unfortunately, it was just really quite disturbing to see that a lot of the psychological fields have now been also completely hijacked with trans ideology and all of this queer bullshit. So in order for me to practice, I would also be basically silenced into complying with something that is already hijacking university level agendas or university courses as such. So this level of infection has gone so far that it's almost kind of impossible to get out of. Hence why I'm doing this video. All right. So I hope this is making sense, and I hope this is all seeking, like it's starting to, kind of getting into your consciousness. All right. So if you're out there and you're listening to this, you do get an added jail-free card for a lot of your neurotic behavior and a lot of your impulses, because you didn't grow up in a normal environment and you didn't grow up on any level that was really sustainable to begin with. And that's why a lot of gay men, they're not leaders, they're not high achievers. Most of them end up in very low level, like entry roles in things. A lot of them, they don't pursue careers in excellence. They kind of are in a state of what I would call arrested development. So you will notice a lot of gay men mentally, they revisit their childhood and live in kind of the realm of a child, in the mind's eye of a child. A lot of Peter Pan syndrome lives within the gay psyche, I have noticed as well, which is all like pleasure seeking, hedonism, having fun. Everything's kind of trivialized. Everything is reduced to entertainment. We have that a lot with drag culture and shit like that. And you'll see that, and that's why it's like their lives are a series of flings and a series of these very short-lived relationships that really don't go anywhere. And then after a couple of years, they end up open, it collapses, and the loop resets itself, and they just start all over again. The problem is, which is, well, for me, sometimes, for me, it's not necessarily a problem, it's actually a blessing, is that we are going to age and die. Okay, so the time that we have here is very, very short. Okay, life moves very, very quickly. So if you don't have the skill set to build real relationships and connections with people, the quality of your life is the quality of your ability to build relationships with people. Plot twist. I know that sounds hard to hear. Unless you're like me and you've created a way where you don't necessarily have to do that, which I've kind of got around it, and I pay a price for that. That's another story. But you'll see that if you don't have friends and you don't have family, you will be in a level of atrophication. This was something that I noticed a lot around COVID, and it was also very publicly broadcast in some news outlets, that thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of gay men across the world, more so around Europe and in the USA, were all found face down dead in the COVID days. That is because a lot of them have immunocompromised illnesses. A lot of them are addicted to medications, which are also quite dangerous as well long term. Don't even get me started on all that. And then what happens is they just die. So they're just found in their apartment alone and they die. There's no one checking in on them. So that was a huge thing that also happened for a lot of gay men that live alone. All right. So it's exhausting to talk about this, but I'm just sharing this with you because it's very, very real. And as you begin to age and you realize, I don't have a lover, I don't have a partner, I don't have someone that really loves me for me, or I'm an older gay guy that's just being turned into a fucking cash cow, then you won't understand how bad this is. All right? Because the conditioning of being in the gay world will mutilate your soul. It will invert you and turn you into like a zombie, like an animal type zombie, and yes, like a demon. So I'm going to pause this video. I'm going to go make myself a cup of tea, and I'm going to come back and upload part 2 of this. And I'm going to share a story with you which haunts me, but it's important that I share this with you. I've got a couple of stories here. If you're up for stomaching this type of content, then please come back and listen to part 2, and we'll go from there, all right? Okay, I'll just see you in part 2. And thank you for taking the time to listen to this.